Hey everyone, it's Trish and I'm back with another Halloween themed fall card for you guys. Today I'm using this absolutely adorable mini stamp set from Simon Says Stamp called Hey Pumpkin, and I'm starting out by stamping that with some Simon Says Stamp Intense Black ink. Now this ink is Copic friendly, so that's why I'm using that, because I will be coloring this adorable kitten in a pumpkin stamp set with some Copic markers. So I'm going ahead and stamping that image, and then I'm going to go ahead and take the jack-o'-lantern face and stamp that on top, so that way I have all of my items stamped out for the time being and set it aside to dry. Next, I'm working on the next focal point of my card, and that is using this Simon Says Stamps Stars and Dots stencil. Now, I had to create this a couple of times because each time just didn't work out. One time I smushed the ink pad on top and it just bled through the stencil. So this time I'm taking my ink blending tool and just lightly pouncing over top of the stencil and not using too much ink so it's not seeping underneath the stencil and making a mess. So I just lightly went over this using the unicorn white ink, and once I finish pouncing all over it, I'm going to lift up my stencil and apply some of the Judikins Iridescent Sparkle Embossing Powder, and I'll heat set that with my heat tool. I'm then moving on and coloring the kitten in the pumpkin, and I'll go ahead and just play some music so you guys can just watch the coloring process. I did speed this up quite a bit, and I have the colors of Copics that I did use in the bottom left hand corner. Once I finished coloring my image, I went ahead and fussy cut it with my scissors, and now I'm taking my Memento marker and just going around the edges of my image to make it look really clean and seamless. I'm stamping out my sentiment, and I'm using the EK Success powder tool to prep my cardstock, and then I'm stamping the Happy Halloween sentiment from the same stamp set with some VersaFine Onyx Black ink. And I'm using this ink because I want to do a little bit of heat emboss it with it. So I'm going and taking the same Judikins Iridescent Sparkle Embossing Powder, and I'm laying that over top of that and heat setting that. Now, when I do use sparkle embossing powder, I like to let my heat tool get really hot, and then I'm first heating the back of the cardstock, that way not to blow off all the glitter, and then I'm going ahead and heating it from the front. Next, it's time to assemble my card. So I'm making an A2 size card, which measures 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I'm using the Nina 110-pound cardstock to give me a nice solid base for my card. I'm also using the Lawn Fawn Let's Polka in the Dark paper pad, and I'm using this sheet of orange with white polka dots on it. I'm trimming it down to 1/4 of an inch smaller than my card base, so it's measuring 4 inches by 5 1/4 to give me a nice mat onto my card. And I'm just attaching that with some basic snail adhesive. I went ahead and trimmed down my black panel for my card front, and before I attached that, I decided that I wanted to add a little something else. So I'm taking the Lawn Fawn Halloween twine, and I'm just wrapping it around a couple times and trying to figure out exactly if I like it, if I don't like it, if I still want to use it. So I decided that I would use this. And I used to use twine on my cards all the time, but lately it's kind of not happened, and so I thought it'd be a nice change to just add this little extra element onto my card. Now I'm just using some basic Scotch tape to attach this onto the back since it won't be seen. So I just apply a little Scotch tape, wrap it around exactly how I'd like it to lay out, and then apply a second layer to hold it in place. Now it's time to just put everything together. So for this black cardstock panel, I decided I wanted to pop that up on my card, so I'm just using some 3M foam tape, and I'm applying 2 pieces underneath the twine and then a piece above the twine. I didn't want to apply any on the twine directly because then it would be uneven on my card, so I just went ahead and applied some to the top and the bottom, and that way this will lay completely level with one another, and one section will be higher up than the other. Once I've attached that, I decided I also wanted to pop up my kitten in the pumpkin, so I'm using the same 3M foam tape and applying some onto the back of that and adhering it onto my card front. Now before I do adhere it though, I want my sentiment strip to be behind the pumpkin a little bit, to be hidden, and I did trim it down and add a flag end to the side. So since that black panel is up on some foam tape, I need to add a little bit of foam tape just onto the right side of this, and then it'll lay flush with the black panel, and I'm just applying a little bit of snail adhesive there so that it will stay stuck. And then I applied my kitten on there. Now I felt like the jack-o'-lantern face did get kind of faded out a little bit with coloring over it with my Copic, so I am using the same Memento marker and just going over the jack-o'-lantern face to make it pop. And I still felt like something was missing, so of course I had to bring in my Spectrum Noir glitter pen, and I'll be applying that over the pumpkin but avoiding the jack-o'-lantern part that I just colored in. One last touch that I added was these black enamel pearls, just a couple to finish off the card, and that completes it for today. As always, there's a link in the description box down below to my blog with a list of supplies used on this card, and I'll be back very soon for another fall card.